What's up, guys? Justin Morgan here, and I am chilling out right outside my workout room here. Usually I'm just in there when I make these videos and talk to you guys. But today, I kind of want to cover this topic again. This comes up every now and then, and it's this like ongoing debate, which is kind of silly to me, about comparing bodybuilders to powerlifters and myofibular muscle hypertrophy versus sarcoplasmic muscle hypertrophy, and the whole concept to me is just kind of silly. When I was studying exercise science and taking anatomy and physiology, we really didn't cover how exactly that went into muscle growth, so it wasn't something that I looked at in college through that way. But in terms of looking at research that's available, I know like Eric Helms and some of the guys from 3DMJ have shared like a lot of really great information in current studies that have been done in recent years, comparing bodybuilders and powerlifters went on similar volumes of total workload, really didn't see any difference in terms of muscle growth. But to me, the biggest reason that I have a hard time with this is that a lot of people still have this impression of powerlifters that there's these really fat guys that are out there and they're really big, but they don't really look that good. When that's really not the case anymore. Maybe back 50 years ago. Actually, that's really never been the case. A lot of the guys that become popular with that are like the super heavyweights. They have no cap to the top of their weight class. They can literally get as fat as they want, and as long as they are alive, they can compete in that super heavyweight class. But when you look back to like the old school powerlifters that, there's like Franco Columbo, insanely strong guy, competed in powerlifting. That was really how he built his base. Arnold Schwarzenegger built his base as a powerlifter. All of those guys, Reg Park, Steve Reeves, whoever, I'm drawing a blank now, but most of the guys that we think of now as bodybuilders really were powerlifters, and they found that they could grow in popularity. There was more interest in bodybuilding, so they kind of moved over to that kind of bodybuilding paradigm, and that's how people think of them now that look back. Larry Scott's another good one, very strong guy, but a lot of these guys, I'm not sure if Larry Scott was a competitive powerlifter in any way, but a lot of those guys were powerlifters that crossed over to bodybuilding because they found that it was more popular. But there were, always in the same thing. And then today, when you look at competitive powerlifters, it's still the same. A lot of the guys that are competitive powerlifters could easily move into bodybuilding. You look at like Dan Green, which is, has, that guy's like ripped a lot of the year. I'm trying to think of, the guy that runs the Pain and Gain website, Jamie Lewis. I don't recommend going to that website, by the way, unless you want to see a great deal of pornography. I was a little shocked the first time I went there. I was like, what in the world? It's like covering up my computer. I didn't want my wife to see what I was looking at. But he, shares some information. Don't always agree necessarily with some of the dietary advice some of those guys give. But nevertheless, Alberto Nunez and Eric Helms from the 3D Muscle Journey, really great. They actually use specifically powerlifting periodization as a way for muscle growth and to train so that they can achieve a more muscular body for bodybuilding. So they are not powerlifters, or not specifically powerlifters anyways. They are using powerlifting as a way to train and get into bodybuilding. A lot of you probably are familiar with Matt Ogus, Ogus Cake. He has the channel Flex for All 2, I think is the channel name, but he's specifically a bodybuilder. But if you look at what he's using, he uses powerlifting periodization as a way to train, and I think he probably does focus a little more on accessory movements beyond the powerlifting program that he follows. but usually, he uses those same types of powerlifting type things. So I wish this argument about well, powerlifting and bodybuilding, and people like to look at them as these like two different things, whereas like bodybuilders do this and powerlifters do that, and a lot of the time it's people that really aren't either. They've never really competed in powerlifting, or they don't really know a lot about powerlifting, so their advice and their insight on the matter is kind of silly, really. But so, for you guys and for me and for anybody watching this video, my sincerest advice is to get strong. A stronger muscle is going to be a bigger muscle. If you want to look good, then following any type of rep scheme will work. And in the next video, I want to attach to this. I want to talk about rep schemes and things, because people have a lot of psychotic views about what powerlifters do too, that immediately tell me that this person does not really follow powerlifting very well, or they haven't been listening to powerlifters, or they really don't know anything about powerlifting, even though they think that they do. So I will get back with you guys in just a little bit about that, so look for the second part of this video. Take it easy.